Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. It is me, one half of Lux and Tux, here, back again with another video. It is 2021. In our last video, we talked about our New Year's resolutions. In this video, I'm making a New Year's resolution come true. I want to teach you guys something new today. We're going to go over a beginner's guide for sewing. I've been wanting to do this for quite some time because I know some people are looking to pick up a new hobby or fulfill those childhood dreams of making your own clothing. Like me, you can make some seriously cool projects from learning how to sew. My first time ever even sewing, I made a hoodie. That was a monumental task at the time because I didn't have a clue what I was even going to do. This all sounds great, but it is very overwhelming trying to pick up a new skill. Don't you worry, that's where I come in. A totally unqualified YouTuber that thinks he knows what he's talking about. That's me. I too still consider myself a beginner. I myself have had to learn the hard way how to get started. Hopefully this guide will make it a little bit easier. I won't be going over everything in today's video. This is more of a first timer's guide. For this video, I'd like to go over everything you need to get started, as well as learning how to understand your sewing machine. All right, let's get started with part number 1, your buying guide for everything sewing. We're going to start out with the number 1 essential, buying the sewing machine. This really depends on your budget. Down in the description, I will give a sewing machine for every budget. Personally, I would advocate for buying a Brother or a Singer sewing machine, especially as your first sewing machine. No need to buy anything fancy or expensive if you just want to get started. Currently, I'm running a Brother model GX37. I got it at Walmart for about $85. It was a great deal. It had a lot of functions that I was looking for, and it was from a reputable brand. You really have 2 routes you can go with in buying a sewing machine. You can either buy locally from a mom and pop shop. Usually they'll throw in free lessons, which is amazing, and you're supporting a small business, which is fantastic. Or if you're like me and don't have the mental capacity to learn from somebody else, and you just like watching YouTube tutorials leisurely on your own time, you can probably find a better deal online. Luckily, my mom knows just a little bit about sewing and she's helped me out, especially on threading the bobbin. That one is a pain in the neck for me still. Most of the times I'll ask her to do it for me. I know, I should really figure it out myself. And in this video, later on, I'll actually be showing you how to do it. So yes, first thing on the list, you will want to pick up a sewing machine. I have mine right here. It has a ton of different functions that are amazing. Look at all these sewing patterns. Oh my goodness. All of the sewing patterns are quite overwhelming. We will not be getting into that in this video. That will be coming later on down the line, and I will show you what situations you will want to use every single one of those thread patterns in. All right, let's move on to the second most important thing when talking about sewing. It's thread. There are so many different kinds of thread. There's polyester, cotton, and so many others, and they are in every color you can possibly imagine. Usually I'll try to match the color of the thread to whatever I'm sewing. Say this is my material, this is a black polyester, I'll probably want to go with a black polyester thread as well. You don't really want to cheap out on the thread because that is what will be holding your project together, and plus it is truly not that expensive to get the more premium brands for threads. And with the spool of thread, you can make your bobbins. I have a bunch of bobbins laid out already. I will always use matching bobbin and thread unless the particular project calls for it. which it almost never does because it looks a little bit funky. Again, if you want recommendations for thread, the links will be in the description along with everything else on this list. Next, a very basic thing that you'll want to pick up. This is, in my mind, very, very important. It's your pins. These will hold your clothing together. It's really important to also have a pin cushion because you want everything very easily accessible while you're working on your project. Also, very, very cheap. Typically, you can pick most of this stuff up in a kit even and save yourself a ton of money. I personally got a sewing basket with everything included. It really can save you a lot of money in the long run by doing something like that. Next, fabric scissors. These are crucial. You don't want to use regular scissors. These definitely cut a lot smoother when you're talking about fabric. And let's be honest, you don't want to be wasteful. These came in the kit that I got. Awesome stuff. They haven't steered me wrong yet. Still sharp as a knife. Love it, love it, love it. I also have these little thread scissors. They get really close in there and they can just cut your threads. Definitely a really handy tool. This did not come in the kit. I bought this separately. Next up, a seam ripper. The one that came in the kit actually broke on me, so I had to buy a backup, and I might as well get an ergonomic one. This one feels great in the hand. I picked this up at Joann's Fabric. I believe it was like $6 or $7, so not bad. Really, really nice. And whenever you make a little mistake, you can just go back, cut your seams, and you can restart and try to make a better line next time. This has gotten me out of a lot of sticky situations. I am telling you, this one's crucial. Making my hoodie, I use this for almost every single side. It's the beginner tool of the century. You will want some scrap materials so you can practice on while you're getting started. A lot of the times, Joann's or your local fabric supplier will have like a clearance section or an area that they'll keep like the end of the rolls where they don't have like a full yard of the fabric and they're trying to get rid of it really cheap. That's usually what I started out buying because I wanted to get the lines right. You want to first learn how to do a straight line. I was like, oh, that's no problem. It does it for you. You don't really have to force the sewing machine to do anything. It'll just sew a straight line. I was so wrong. I messed up 15 times. I didn't really, let's say, know how to modulate the speed for my current skill. So I ended up just tearing through fabric. I just went way too fast, way too heavy-handed. I messed up the lines, and I really hope none of you make the same mistakes I did. That is truly why I want to make this video. I feel like a lot of people will benefit from me collecting all my information and putting it into one video. A lot of the more advanced sewers really don't understand what it's like anymore to be a beginner. And it's frustrating that these super easy tasks become very difficult and very overwhelming. I'm guilty of showing only my successes. I never showed myself re-sewing something that I had to rip up because I messed up the seams. It definitely paints a picture that I knew what I was doing more than I really did. The hoodie didn't come out that great, but still, I did make a hoodie, and it was a huge project for somebody that was such a novice. Like, I was a full noob. From here on out, all of this is extras, and this will just make everything just a little bit easier for you. When you're marking your material, Taylor's chalk is fantastic. I wish somebody told me about this before I got started. You can mark up your material and it will wash right out. This might look like a colored pencil. This is actually a water-soluble marking pencil. It's very similar to this, but it's a little bit more fine. I actually got this first and didn't particularly love it, but that's because the material that I was using, it didn't show up on. Very similar to Taylor's chalk. Another very, very similar Sharpie. If you just want the plain and simple Sharpie, it'll show up on most white things, blue things, gray things, everything but black. It just won't show up on black. Another thing that I like to keep in my sewing bag, an X-Acto knife. It's come in handy a few times. I use them in a pinch. Say I got a little corner that I really want a nice clean cut for. Instead of trying my best with the scissors, I'll just go along with this. Since I have a pretty small desk, sometimes the projects I'm working on are pretty big and they start falling off and I need to keep them in place. I have a few clamps. You can get these super cheap, literally Home Depot, Lowe's. They're only a few dollars. I recommend it. It has helped me tremendously in my tiny little area to keep things stable. And last but not least, this looks like a weird tool. I get that, but it is very, very helpful. This will help you get into all your little nooks and crannies. This helps you unfold the corners when you're working on something like a pocket or a quilt, and you need to extrude all of the corners. There's a little ruler on it. It helps out a lot. Again, everything here down in the description. Why am I holding this material? Is it time for part 2? I will be teaching you how to properly thread your sewing machine. After all that fun jazz, we'll be sewing a few straight lines just to show you how to go. Let's go. All right, let's get started. I chose black thread because it shows up the easiest on this rather white background. All right, so grab your thread, loop it around here, down the side and up. You want to make sure your needle is up around there. There's a notch right here. You want to make sure you're pushing against this left side. And then while you're going down, now you put it behind the latch right here and you have to go through the needle. Woo, we did it! 5 minutes later, we did it. Now just throw that to the back and it is time to do the bobbin. Another fun part. For the bobbin, open up the dungeon first. I hate doing this part. All right, we'll take out the bobbin. All right, make sure it's wrapped around. You're going counterclockwise. Have it in here, latch it. And then there's a notch right on the other side. And you want to turn your needle dial towards you. I was going away from me. And it will put the thread right here. And then what you want to do is you want to take either a poker, pencil, whatever you have, and you want to put it to the back. Oh my goodness, I actually did it. Wow. That was the process. You want to make sure that you're holding the thread that is through the needle to the back. You want to make sure there's a little bit of tension on it. And we're good. Lock the dungeon. And we got our thread done. We'll grab a little piece of scrap material and I will be right back. Let's grab our material. I got a little white piece so you can see the black thread on it. You're going to want to flip down your foot. Lower your needle, make sure your foot pedal is at a comfortable distance, and loosely guide at a slow pace. I'll show you. And if you want a back step to lock in your thread, there is a latch on the back side. You hold it down, and you basically just thread in reverse. Then go forward and you basically just locked your thread in, and that is not going to be moving anywhere. Now you make sure your needle is up. Ours is all the way at the top. Flip the latch up and take out your piece. Right here is our straight stitch. Very easy. And now you know how to sew. I hope you learned something in today's video. If I missed out on something, let me know. I plan on making a bunch more of these in the future. This was a super cool project and one that I'm passionate about. There is so much to do in the field of sewing. You can make so many different things. There are so many different processes. I hope to get to a lot more in the future. This is boiling down sewing into its most basic form. That's what I tried to do. And with that being said, I think this was mission accomplished. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I appreciate you. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know what you'd like me to teach you in the next guide. This is Lux and Tux, signing off.
at my eyes. Look at the numbers. No, they don't lie. Look at my bands. Ooh, looking surprised. Yeah, show for the whip. Bitch sitting outside. Yeah. I'm no pacifist. I just master shit. Should teach the class in this. Call her Uber. I'm done smacking shit. She go get packed in